Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and like, follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Welcome back to the Spiritual Grind. Good morning, Dr. Jenny.
Good morning.
Wow, we got 5 days. We got 5 days.
It's the final countdown.
Margaritaville Sea. We're going down to the Mexico area.
Don't tell everybody where we're at.
Oh,
I don't want them to follow us.
Oh, the paparazzi. They might send the paparazzi down there.
Paparazzi.
You know, I hear that they're offering big money for our photographs.
For us to stop taking pictures.
You know how they put them headhunters out there on
We'll
the
give
celebrities.
you lots of money if you'll stop taking pictures, please.
But it's funny. Well, we hope you're enjoying the podcast. We're having a good time doing it. You know, we've been running the relationship series. And in the relationship series, you know, we first talked about historical events and modifying your picker. And then in step 2, we went to, you know, shopping for the best person. You know, basically going shopping.
Going
for those
shopping.
Things that match you.
Yeah.
It's been.
So, where are you going to take us today?
Well, we're going to talk
King
about
James.
setting yourself up for success, basically, for a relationship. I think that's the next step of the relationship series.
Okay.
Is setting yourself up for success. You know, we're going to be, you know, because in the previous podcast about this is, you know, we corrected our picker by looking at, you know, the stuff that we owned within our previous relationships, modifying the picker process.
Yeah.
And then we went to going shopping, reviewing historical events and beliefs, clearing negative stuff on old relationships, and then, you know.
And giving yourself permission to define exactly what you're looking for based on having experienced a contrast. That's what that means.
I agree.
Shopping means you're putting together the characters, the components, the attributes of that person based on your experiencing what you want and what you don't want throughout your life journey, and giving yourself permission to do that, actually, because you deserve it and you're worthy of it without any inhibitions of, oh, I would really like to have this, but I can't for whatever reason pops up.
Right.
I don't deserve it, or I'm not pretty enough to have this one that looks like this, or I'm not intelligent enough.
Look, I took good notes. Experiencing contrast. You see? I did good, didn't I?
So that's what that meant in that podcast.
I took good notes.
Is just creating that individual from a place of maybe no beliefs, if you could even get to that place, and really just doing a big whopping daydream of the perfect person. And then the key to that part of the process is creating it and then letting it go into the universe without any expectation or insistence that it has to be exactly the way you put it on the paper. Give spirit the space to
or time either. You can't
create it and bring it to you when
in
you're
perfect timing.
Aligned with it, and adding additional characteristics that you may not even realize that you were ready for. So
Pardon me, that's just my adjuster fixing things.
yeah, because then that's how we experience those just really what we consider ostentatious or serendipitous or miraculous experiences that are over and above anything that we could have fathomed.
Agreed.
That's how you experience those things, by letting go of the insistence that it must look the way I wrote it on the paper.
Yeah,
and if it doesn't, then, oh my God, I did something wrong. I didn't get the spell or the potion right.
Oh my God, I'm so wrong. I didn't take the love potion number 9. I took number 8.
Not enough eye of newt.
Not enough eye of newt. Stick your finger in the pot and stir it.
Oh no, my potion turned red instead of purple.
Oh no. So let's set the scene. So now we have looked at ourselves. We have fixed the historical events. We have now adjusted our picker and given the timeline and the adjustments out there to the higher self or your God or whoever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And now, guess what?
What?
Here's the perfect person right in front of you.
Drum roll.
Wow, it's the perfect one. We've been waiting for it. And then in comes Prince Charming. Or Princess Awesome. Sorry. And so now I think where we go with this is making sure that everybody understands one thing. A, society has taught us that being in a relationship is two people merging their lives together. And being copacetic is one. And that is true to a point.
Okay.
Because everybody is individual still. Even when you are with somebody, wholeheartedly married, whatever that is, dating, living together, however that works, is everybody's still an individual, and they all have their own history, their own beliefs, their own higher self-guidance or God or whatever you want to call it, desires. I have many different things, and that each one of you have as individuals. And I think understanding that, first of all, that society has taught us this, it's got to look like this. A married couple is two lives joined together, and they're supposed to accept everything that comes their way or modify everything based on the other person. And that relationships are more about, I have made this person for myself. This person is now my reality. So I know as you go down the checklist, it's checking off the parameters. All the parameters are there. Now we're going to step into, what do we do next to set the foundation of a good relationship?
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. What is it? I would say to start off is you have to really make sure and communicate clearly the acceptable and unacceptable things that can happen in your reality, not in your together reality, AKA they call it setting boundaries. I think, clear communication up front about boundaries and expectations have to be communicated.
I would agree. The other person needs to know kind of where you stand.
Where's your head at?
On the key components of said relationship.
Yeah.
They in order for it to be a fair shot at this and to be a win-win situation, we haven't mastered the skill of reading each other's energy and mind on a consistent basis. And so expecting your partner to be able to read your mind and know exactly what you need or want in any given moment,
or likes or dislikes or any of that,
right, is not really the best way to go about it, honestly.
Yeah. You've
got to use your words,
mm-hmm.
and you've got to communicate that so that they know whether or not, it does a couple of things. It lets them know where you're at, and then they get to look at that information and say, okay, is this something I can honor? Is this something that I can provide? Is this something I can do? Is this something I can agree to do?
Am I willing to do?
Right? Is this something I want to do? Does this, align with my highest enjoyment, my highest excitement?
And that goes both directions, but both parties.
That's right.
Because I think it gives a beautiful opportunity to truly assess a relationship. So when, like for us in the beginning, we had that one time that we just stood in that apartment, and we dumped all our baggage out there in front of everybody, each other, in front of the whole world. Sometimes it was laughing, sometimes it was anger, it was yelling, but we went through all the process. We went through the entire process, and I remember you looking at me and said, "So, are you getting rid of me now?"
Yeah, I mean, that's what worked for you and I, was to just kind of dump the whole garbage can out and say, in a snapshot, here's what I've gone through, here's where I'm at, how do you want to move forward?
Right, because,
and being open to the fact that I think the key for me on my side of the fence was being okay if you came back and said, there's a lot in there that I can't really deal with right now.
Yeah.
Or being okay with, there's a lot there, but I'm willing to
It still
try.
sparks my curiosity or whatever.
I'm willing to try.
Yeah,
but
because the scene is, go ahead.
The key is that I think I want to add this in there.
Okay.
Because this is one of the key things that you and I still do, is remembering that we change.
Oh, yeah.
Every millisecond of the day. And so if I agreed yesterday that I could sift through your garbage with you and be okay with it, going into it knowing that by doing so, it may bring stuff up for me that's unpleasant or
for both of you, really.
And it may bring stuff up for you that's unpleasant.
It may
and
cause
uncomfortable.
arguments. It could do many things.
Still being okay that if it's time to go, it's time to go. If it's time to stay, it's time to stay. And the other person being open to that same premise.
Mm-hmm.
We both came into our relationship fully functioning individuals.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I didn't bring you into my reality because I needed you.
Right.
I brought you in my reality because I wanted to experience what you had to offer.
Yes.
And you the same. We came in as whole beings. And I didn't need you to come in and pay my bills or raise my children or, be an emotional support. We came in saying, okay, we're gonna take this right now at a time. We're going to be in the moment, and whatever it brings about, we'll make different decisions, new decisions, and we communicate that all along the way, and we have for the years that we've been together, whatever that number is.
And here's the other part of that same thing. When you do sit down, say for example, you've been out on 7 or 8 dates, and you're liking the person you're dating, and they're liking you, and you're both at dinner one night, and you look at each other and say, is it time to take this to the next level? And then you sit down and have that talk. Yeah. And I think where society has taught a lot of things is to look at things in a way of, is it okay for me, A, to accept this thing, and B, can I fix this person? And we can't get caught up in that mix, because that communication back and forth between those two people is not about what they want you to fix. Right. It's about acceptance of the subject, not fixing the subject. Now, you can be supportive through it, because the reality is you can't fix anybody else, and you can't fix me, and I can't fix you. Right. But we can allowing talk through you the space to have the experience. No matter what the emotion is or whatever, and it's part of a healthy relationship. I understand that you can't fix my baggage. You cannot fix it. Now, do we discuss it a lot, and your input is taken and 100% of the time, because you are my person. Yeah. And so when there's something that's in my reality I'm kind of struggling with, I will talk about. Yeah, same. And but I go into that with the knowing this is about me becoming a better person for the relationship, not about that person fixing me for the relationship. Well, and becoming a better person not only for the relationship but for yourself. For myself, in a balanced way. And that's one of the main things I think that where people take relationships and they run them off in the ditch is, well, I've got this, I've been cheated on, and blah, blah. They go through this entire punch list of the negative stuff, and the other person thinks that's acceptable, but they're not thinking through the process completely of saying, listen, okay, so this person, was cheated on 3 or 4 times, or they had to pay all the bills because their other person didn't work, and okay, so they had to pay all the bills. That means that they're going to, every little thing that changes my finances, they're going to be very sensitive to.
Possibly.
They don't think through the process and don't continue the conversation. So when we have a subject that comes up, like you and I, we will just keep talking about it. It may not be all at once. It may not be across 3 or 4 months, but we do continue the conversation until the subject is tabled completely and we have both cleared with it.
And how do you know if the subject is tabled, so to speak?
Well, I think when it all comes up to the head, we discuss it in a true, honest, open manner.
Does your emotional guidance play a role in that?
Oh, I think so, totally.
That's kind of where I was trying to take you, but I can't lead a horse to water, honestly.
I can't read your mind. Remember, we just had this discussion.
I was doing it for the benefit of the readers or the listeners.
But I think that's where a lot of the relationships get off on the wrong path. Is they, first of all, so you actually brought up a very good point where I was going next with it, is they've decided they're going to take it to the next level, and now they're going to talk through the situation and set up boundaries. And the problem that you have to be aware of is your emotional guidance system is there to help you through your processes and stuff, but don't get stuck on the love.
What does that mean?
Like you'll climb up the ladder and then you'll quit allowing become blinded to the emotional movement. Like, I love this person and I accept all of that because I love you, not because they haven't thought through it, or even get bothered by it. It's okay to have emotions.
I'm not following.
So, like, I see this all the time. I love this person. They keep cheating on me, or they keep going and blowing all our rent money, but yet I love them, and I keep letting them back into my reality. And it's the same thing in the beginning of the negotiations. You can't be blinded by love to the obvious. That's because you love somebody doesn't mean that you can't work through the processes of the emotions.
I mean, I agree somewhat.
Okay.
I agree. The only thing that would be a little bit different is if this is the theme that you chose to experience and have more to learn from it, then that is the kind of experience that you're going to have.
Well, I agree. You mean like a contractual thing?
Right. Like on a contractual thing that you're going to have one more go at it to, elevate yourself past certain beliefs or patterns or programs, or that's just the theme that you chose to experience maybe your whole life. Who knows? Only you know.
And, I think in that scenario, you're totally right. There could be contractual stuff. Totally agree.
For sure.
And it would, because there's things in our reality that's an obvious contractual thing.
Obviously.
And the part of it, I think what has to be be made aware is when you're talking through these things and realizing that, hey, this person is really in my category and within my realm. But when you sit down to have that conversation, understand that it's okay to stay and it's okay to go.
Right. That's the key thing is
it's balance.
Yeah. And being open when you get to that place where it's okay to stay or okay to go, I feel like I want to have this conversation even just for my own benefit. When it's okay to stay and it's okay to go, that means in all facets of it. If I am experiencing the relationship in a manner that is not exactly how I want to experience it anymore, if I am afraid that my reality will change to a more uncomfortable place or with a more uncomfortable person, then I will keep myself locked into the relationship that I'm in, allowing the things to go on that I don't really care for. if I am afraid of allowing the change to happen, because I have this belief in place that it's going to be more uncomfortable to experience that. I have no idea that that's what I'm going to experience.
Right.
I have no idea that it's not going to be a blissful, pleasant exchange when I allow the change to happen. I don't know that either way, but I've created a story in my head based on past experiences that, okay, whenever I was in this relationship, there were parts of it that I did enjoy immensely, but it came to a place where I no longer enjoyed this or this about that person. And they weren't at a place where they were able to or willing to do anything different to facilitate an experience that I wanted to have. And by making that change and going, I went through experience of being alone again, missing the parts of that relationship that I no longer had. And those were not altogether pleasant.
Yeah.
And not fun. Breakup is not ever fun, right?
Right.
So if you're in a relationship and there are parts and pieces about it that you do enjoy, but there are parts and pieces that you would really like to be different, if you are still in fear of, okay, well, if I break up with this person and I allow it to be okay to go, I'm going to have to experience that emotional situation of breaking up with the person. And so therefore, that little piece, that little sliver of thought will keep you in a relationship that potentially you may not supposed to be in anymore, but it certainly keeps you from being able to morph that very relationship into something more enjoyable, because it keeps your perspective locked in on the fear of having to experience something unpleasant because you had a past experience that way. Right. That's what I mean by coming out of your relationships educated and not damaged. And because the fear will hang you up and it will hold you in a place of not even trying to decide, how many times do I need to say that before I get it clear? That's me pausing while my higher self gets it all together. Even if the relationship that you're in is trying to morph into a higher vibrational experience, if you're not okay with that person changing because of the fears that they change might bring about them going away, then you're not even giving them the space to become a new and improved them. And you're not giving yourself the space to experience the new and improved them, because you're locked up in the change equals a whole different person with a whole different face and a whole different personality. And you're trapped in that concept and the fear of loss of this person. It'll tangle you up if you're not careful. Because change could mean that the person you're with is willing to and has graduated to that next energetic or frequency level of them making the changes within them that afford you the opportunity to experience a relationship on the next level.
I totally agree. I mean, the change is part of a relationship. Everybody
Always.
changes in every relationship, dating, not dating, friendship, work, mother, daughter, father, son.
I would say change is the only consistent thing. Would you agree?
I agree, because that's what we do.
It's constant.
That's what we do as human beings. Here, is we change, evolve, we get better, we experience things. That's what we do. And trying to force things or taking your own baggage and turning it into an uncommunicated expectation or an assumption towards the other person is not a healthy way to go about it. And so the communication in the beginning of all of it is very clear and concise and open and receptive and humble. And once you get past that point and y'all can both look at each other and say, you know what, I think I'm in, or say, you know what, had some great dates. It's been fun, but I think that's just too much for me. And that's okay. It's a balance.
Right.
It's a balance thing.
Exactly.
And when you move forward into say, for example, if they say, no, I'm out, that's just too much for me. That's got to be okay. And you can't take it personal towards yourself.
Right.
They're
just not there yet.
They're just not there yet. Or maybe it's just not time for you. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe you're not there yet.
Yeah.
And being comfortable being the one to say that.
Yeah.
You know, you've been dating for a minute. You kind of like having this person's face in your bubble. But when you have that conversation and everybody dumps their garbage can, maybe you're the one that says, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I really just don't want to. And what happens is that I feel like I'm being mean to this person if I tell them after having dated them for 2 or 3 months that there's a lot of stuff in your garbage can that I'm just not really willing to go through right now. I'm just not there.
I don't want no baby mama drama.
And so instead of having that open communication and being honest, you say to yourself, oh, I can change them, or I can change me.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, I'll just stuff it down for myself. I'll change my boundaries, or I can fix them.
Yeah,
Those are trip up places for both you and them. And the relationship will become a very bumpy ride if one or both of you goes in that direction with it. So being very honest in describing and understanding what it is you're willing to or want to experience, even if you're the one that says no go, make sure you do that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like when you told me about your stuff, I was like, man, this is going to be a crazy ride, but I'm okay. That's funny. Sorry. And I think the next step of that is to continue that communication, because change will bring things up.
Yeah.
And, evolution changes beliefs and patterns and programs, and there's all sorts of societal influence on relationships that change, and knowing that there could be things that pops up, beliefs that come up, or old historical events that that create issues. Being open and receptive to that, making sure you understand this too is just another communication opportunity.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The one thing you have to remember is that, as we've talked about in previous podcasts, as you clear societal beliefs, personal beliefs, patterns,
historical
programs, by even by way of the help your partner brings, will bring up some of the garbage out of that can that you're ready to eliminate from your experience. That makes you a whole new person.
I agree.
A whole different person.
Yeah.
And it does the same thing for your partner. And so then you have to go into a renegotiation and conversation on a very regular basis, because you're both a different set of people.
Yep, I
and
agree.
That's why sometimes if you don't realize that and you don't come to terms with that concept that we change billions of times a second and we're really literally different people all the time, if that person changes and they no longer, I don't know, like they came in loving chocolate cake and now all of a sudden they don't like chocolate cake. If you're not really understanding that change is a natural part of the mechanism, you'll be like, well, you liked it a year ago. What's wrong with you? What's going on? Oh my gosh.
Right.
Danger, danger, danger.
Yeah.
You'll misinterpret things.
Right.
And that's not a healthy place really to be either, accepting that change happens. And that just because this was the truth for you today, tomorrow it may not be the truth, because you're a whole nother person and you have a whole different history and a whole different future. And
and I think one of the big major traps in communication that everybody should be aware of is the fact that you work through and talk through an issue, and you come out on the other side, everything's happy and copacetic. You can never assume that topic is not going to come up again.
Right, because we've talked about things being in layers.
Yeah.
And you can always count on there being, most of the time with most people, a really deep-seated topic is going to have layers.
Right.
And you and your higher self will only take you down through the number of layers on that topic that you can handle at any given moment. And so that's why it does keep pop up and come back.
Right.
But as the partner standing by your side while you go through that is an opportunity for you as the partner standing by to practice your patience, your compassion, your understanding, your allowance of that person to experience going through that
what they're
layer at
experiencing.
a time and not take it personal.
Right.
Because if you start taking things personal, then it brings in defensiveness and it brings in irritation and aggravation, impatience, frustration, and that changes the relationship.
Yeah, let me talk about assumption, because we've talked about it now a couple of times in this podcast. And so what I mean by assumption is either putting yourself into a relationship or pulling yourself out of a relationship, putting yourself into a communication or out of a communication because you have assumed what the other person is going to think or say.
Right.
You don't fall in that trap. Don't fall in that black hole, because that's a very deep black hole. And so, because you really do not know where, as they change and evolve and these beliefs and stuff comes up, you really do not know where their head is. And until the communication is over, it's cleared and you're happy and you move on. Then when you start assuming like, oh my gosh, he's gonna think I'm crazy. He's gonna think I'm crazy, and I don't want him to think that way, so I'm gonna remove myself. You're now making a choice for the other person, and
because you didn't
do it for the right reason.
Well, and because you didn't communicate with your partner
that you're feeling that way.
Agreed. Because your perspective of yourself is, I think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And so he's going to think I'm crazy, or she's going to think I'm crazy. So this is a topic I can't talk about with them, because you've automatically created the story that if you openly communicate about this crazy topic, and that comes from not quite understanding it.
Or
those
having a fear.
Rabbit hole topics.
Or having a fear. Yeah.
Yeah. And
because, I mean, here's an example of that people do.
Going about it in that way.
This happens all the time with people, and I guarantee you that when they listen to this, they're going to say, oh, yeah, when your boss calls you and said, hey, I need to see you in the office, what does your mind do?
Oh, my God, I'm in trouble.
It automatically assumes.
Yeah.
And then you don't have no idea if that boss is calling you in the office to, hey, give you the Employee of the Year award, and here's a bonus, here's a week's paid vacation. Right. Or it could be that, hey, we messed up here, let's just improve on this. And then we're going to go forward with it. It could, it could be an educational opportunity. It could be
right.
Not always assumption of what it is.
So maybe let's go quickly down this section of what we do.
Okay.
Because I mean, we tell them all the time, we're human. We're right here along with you. And so whenever we go into the place of assumption, what are some of the things that we do? What are some of the techniques that we make sure that we do?
Oh, I do this all the time. I always say, are you mad at me? Or are you upset with me? I ask the question because I'm assuming that you are.
Right. And what that does is it allows me to stop. It brings it to my awareness. It allows me to stop and ask myself, this is what I do on my side.
Yeah.
I stop and I say, okay, wait a minute. Am I mad at you? And if I am, why?
Right.
And then when I decide that, no, you know what? I'm not mad at you. I'm aggravated at myself for feeling the way that I do about this topic again. That'll be, that'll happen to me a lot. And it's not that I'm mad at you. It's that I'm aggravated at myself for giving myself a little pop quiz and not having passed it with flying colors.
And being genuine in it all is very important when it comes to that. Like when I ask you, are you mad at me, upset? Did I do something that bothered you? Did that bother you? Whatever the question is, I'm doing it from a genuine place of curiosity because I want to look at what I did in it or what my part of it is.
Right.
And
And I think from the standpoint of the person being asked the question, the next step is being open enough to communicate and not leave that person in the dark.
Right.
To assume.
Yes.
Do what you can to help clear up the assumption, because it's helpful to close down their monkey mind on what they're assuming. And then in the conversation, getting to the place of saying, listen, I know this is going to sound really crazy, but this is what happened in my mind, and this might be what you're picking up on.
Yeah.
This and this and this are what happened, and this is what it triggered for me, and this is what it brought up. And so I'm processing and working through that belief, because it's not something I want to hang on to anymore.
Right.
And not saying, no, nothing's wrong with me, I'm not mad at you, and just leaving the conversation there because you, again, think that they're going to think it's too off the wall or whatever. Really getting to that place of open communication,
genuine,
and speaking to your partner about it, because they still can't read your mind.
Right.
And we go into each situation, I know you and I do, we go into each situation wanting to help that person in the best way that we can.
Right.
And if I'm the one who is going into a scenario and I am doing the assuming, I know that you will have conversations of, you'll say, well, is there anything I can do to help you while you're looking at that belief, or while you're rewriting it or clearing it up? And if there are things that would be helpful, and there have been at times, at times, like, you'll say, yeah, it's helpful whenever you come up and just touch me on the back or whatever every once in a while.
Yeah.
When I'm going through this particular topic, then I do my best to provide that for you, and vice versa. And so asking the question of,
what can I do to help?
What is it that I can do to help? And then you get to decide, is that something that I can do?
Yeah.
And if it's not, if it's something that you just truly can't do, being okay to say, I understand that would be helpful, but that is not something that I can guarantee you that I can do on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah, that's the. I think that's a true solid basis to get started with, and then now I think. Do you feel complete with that subject line? I'm good either way. And going forward, I think on the next step of it, we've talked about setting the initial conversation. Then you got to be open and receptive, genuine, continued conversation. Now, what happens next?
Well, I mean, I would say, that's a pretty good setup for a new relationship.
Agreed.
When you're starting at ground zero and you really want to get it off to the right momentum in the right direction.
Well, let me say this.
But what happens when you're already in
let me say this.
A relationship?
Like anytime I've ever counseled anybody, I or talked to them about a relationship, if they're talking to me about a relationship, I treat their relationship as if it's brand new, because reality is every day's a new day, every moment's a new moment, and I don't care if they've been together for 1,000 years. If they take it back to the basics throughout their time and go through the steps that we just been through, I don't care if they've been together 100 years. You can go through these steps, and it will change your relationship, or it will identify incompatibility.
Okay. What if that person is not there yet?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if you're already in a relationship, an existent relationship, and your partner is not awakened and is not embracing these concepts, but you are, and so they're not a willing participant of communication, or they're not a willing participant to sit down and redefine an existing relationship in that manner, what is this one individual who is kind of going it alone? Where does it put them, and how do they navigate that when they don't have a partner that's truly willing to explore it and do it with them? Like, what do they do?
Well, they have a choice.
Or is that a whole nother podcast?
I think I really think that's another podcast.
Or that person is awakened, but they're just not there yet.
I think that's a whole nother podcast.
Okay.
Because that's a deep one. I think that should be down the road, because right now we're just setting it up. Maybe we can do that.
Okay, well, all of you that are experiencing that have to wait.
Well, then we can touch it, because I don't know the answer to your question.
You have to wait in your misery pool that you've created.
Wow. That's negative.
I was just trying to put a funny spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to touch on it? I don't care. If we can do it.
I was just asking. What do those people that are in that direction or find themselves in that situation do?
I mean, I think they go back to basics.
Temporary reprieve that we can offer to them in that situation?
Well, we preach that you can only control your reality.
Right, of course.
And if it is in a place where you're at a crossroads to make a choice, then you have to be open and receptive to that choice, no matter what that is.
Yeah. And
you have to ask yourself, what is my part in this relationship, negative and positive? What is their part in this relationship, negative and positive? And then am I willing to go forth and either A, have a serious conversation with this person, or B, am I going to accept where it is until things grow? Or
do I have the ability to maybe change my perspective on the whole situation so that it feels better for me, but I'm still allowing them to experience it at the level where they're at?
Right. I think that falls under the...
Can I look at this differently to where it gives me a better understanding and still gives them the space to be where they're at, even if the previous me was seeing that it was a little bit uncomfortable for me?
Yeah, because if I may, can I talk about one of our subjects?
Well, of course, I don't care.
Like, here's one of the situations that I deal with.
Be careful.
What do you mean?
You might not like what I have to say.
I don't care.
No, I'm kidding.
You're not going to fear me out of something.
I'm teasing with you. Wow.
I'm playing. I was just playing too. And so the part of this is that we're dealing with is there's a little bit of in trust from a former belief system within us, within our relationship that we're talking through and walking through. And, I don't know. I'm trying to sugarcoat it.
You are. And it's causing you to stumble and trip.
It's causing me to stumble.
Not even get your point across. So either you're going to go all in and you're going to just put it out there.
My point is there's a little bit of untrust in there because Dr. Jenny has this belief that because of previous experiences that one day I will cheat on her or something. And being on this side of the receiving part of it is trying to stay open and receptive to understanding and being patient and not letting it get my goat, so to speak. Because I know what I'm doing and I know there's nothing going on. And I know, I mean, yes, 30 years ago, I was that guy. Not so much that guy now. And because I do not want to be that guy. And so, it gets brought into the reality and it's a touchy place to be, especially when it comes to infidelity, because I know the stuff that I worked on previously. And so what I'm trying to say is when you have a experienced relationship, no matter what level of awakening it is, you can still only affect your reality. And and
not only that, but it's showing you that things are going to come up in layers.
Yes.
No matter how experienced you are in this, you can still sometimes get tripped up about it, because my experience in this is I had a couple of relationships in my previous life where I was the one cheated on. And so I brought that baggage, into the relationship and needed to go through some experiences of healing.
You had communicated that with me.
And, yeah. I mean, all of this has been dumped out in the middle of the floor. And we knew going in that there quite possibly could have things pop up, and we would kind of just take it as it went.
Right. I mean, it's been on and off a few times throughout the years. And
there's different as the victim of infidelity, there's things popping up for me still to this day, this many years in, because things do sometimes have to resolve in layers. But me going through those.
Well, here's a good example of the layers.
To trigger your layers that are ready to pop up as well.
Here's a good example of the layers. Just last week, so here's the joke. I get up and I go down here to the convenience store. I'll get me an energy drink or something. And I'll come back, and Jenny has created this joke of I'm going down to see my Wawa girlfriend because she works at I go to Wawa.
Because I don't understand that on the weekends when we go to the grocery store, why you only get 4 monsters when you know that on the 4th day, you're not going to have any for day number 5. And that makes no sense to me. It's highly illogical in my bubble. And so my monkey mind, because of my past experience and all of this that still is going on with this relationship thing, the way for me to make that feel better for me was to put this little joke in place and make a joke out of it to kind of like
that's where I was going with it. They don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm trying to give them the
trying
to give them the story.
Okay, go ahead.
I was trying to give them the rest of the story.
Okay.
To kind of desensitize myself about the topic of why does he just not buy enough monsters at the grocery store when we go on Saturdays? Because my monkey mind was taking me to the place of, oh, well, that's an excuse that he's using to be able to go see his proverbial little girlfriend that he has on the side. And so for me to quiet the monkey mind, I made a joke of it to make it feel better for me. I had to put it kind of in that joking category so that at the time I could feel better about it. Anyway,
and then this morning we're going to the cruise. We're going on a cruise this weekend. And this morning I said, I got to run to Wawa, get me an energy drink. And that way I can tell my Wawa girlfriend, hey, I want to be out of town for a week. And it rang her bell.
It did. It zapped me.
And it wasn't, I was just trying to make a joke out of it because she joked about it all the time.
Right.
And, I have gotten to the place to where it's nonsense. And so I just like play along with the joke and taking it more lighthearted because I know what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. And it doesn't bother me that she makes this comment. But what bothered me this morning within it is when I make the same joke back.
And it rings
her bell, and then I instantaneously see the energy change of the room, and she becomes I don't know, irritated at herself, at me, whatever it was, and so now I go through the rest of my morning saying, I guess I just shouldn't have said that joke, and I can't take her issues into my life because I know what I'm doing and I'm doing things right, and so I have this stable and confidence in stability and confidence in knowing that. What I do in life is what I'm doing when it comes to that subject is 100% upfront and honest, and so I can get to a better place with it. But I think the point of that is understanding that it does come up in onions because she was joking around about it last week, and then I make a joke about it, and it's not so funny.
Right, exactly.
And it rings a bell, but and that's okay. I'm okay with that. And so, like I said this morning, what I do is I just get clear on it. I just want to know what the purpose behind the energy change was. And I'm like, okay, I don't have the power to change her.
But what did you do to get clear about it?
I asked.
Right, exactly. Right. That's the key.
I'm like, did I do something to make you mad?
Right. And then that, because I was sitting there and I was engulfed in, why is this coming up again? Oh my God, I am so tired of it. Why can't I just chunk this shit out the window? And so I didn't really even realize that it was that I was putting off the energy of my frustration outwardly because I was just deep in the thought of it. And so by you asking me the question, it popped me back into the now, into the awareness of, okay, hey, you're projecting this off. And it gave me the opportunity.
Don't feel good.
Right. It gave me the opportunity to really say, listen, I'm feeling some frustration, but it is not at all by any means at
Any
you.
wings? Did you say wings? Any wings?
I said any means. It's not at you. It's actually at myself, because I gave myself this little pop quiz of having you state that joke. And in my perspective, I flunked the pop quiz and I thought I was done with it. And so I'm like, bleep, F word. I thought I was done with this crap. What the bleep? So I was aggravated at myself. So by you asking the question and feeling comfortable to be able to ask the question brought me back to the reality of awareness of, hey, look at this, because you're projecting it off.
Well, I think, to kind of fall back on every part of this podcast is it's kind of step 3 in the relationship series. And that is communication.
Absolutely.
Communicate. Be open and receptive to that other person.
Yeah.
Do not be judgmental. Do not make assumptions. Do not have expectations that aren't communicated. And everything is about the communication within it. And I know society teaches you that, but what we're telling you to do is communicate no matter what the consequences are, and have balance within it. That way you can stay on a pure, genuine level.
And don't be defensive.
Yeah, you can't be defensive, right?
Don't take it
like
personal.
It would be so easy for me to get defensive and amp that, turn it into an argument really quick.
Yeah, you can't.
But I'm under the understanding and knowing what I do, and if because we do this all the time to each other, something pops up, and if you're living truly genuine, and there is that, you're seeing your girlfriend or whatever kind of energy, I know what I'm doing right. So it gives me the solidarity to not engage into an emotional roller coaster ride of an argument, because it's I know what I'm doing and I'm not doing.
I would say too, another trick to it that I've had you do that's helpful for me is that when I do make the joke, there's been occasions where you've said, "Are you okay? And is there something that we need to talk about on that topic?" You've asked me, because I guess me making the joke is sometimes an indicator that I'm having a little bit of a struggle with this topic today.
That damn monkey's back.
And by you asking me, hey, are you all right on that topic? Do you need to conversate about it? It kind of opens a doorway to give me that allowance to conversate. So
you can't take it personal
that way. Right.
Because the baggage is not about you.
That's right.
Can't take it personal. It's all about the communication.
Right.
Anyway.
So make yourself a note, because we need to take this podcast in the direction of what happens when you're already in a relationship and you're not on the same wavelength as your partner. Like your partner's not willing to communicate, or your partner's not willing to participate. We need to go over that in the next podcast, because I know we're running short on time.
We're at almost an hour already.
Yeah.
Well, that went quick, didn't it?
It does go by quickly.
Hey, so step 3 of the relationship series is done. We appreciate you all listening. Don't forget to like, follow, share, and
ring that bell.
Hey, we all want you all to have an awesome day. And when you see us in Cozumel, wave at us. Love you.
Love you.